Okay guys, we just have to talk about this little man named Endrick. Just a few months back, he was one of the biggest memes on the internet because of how he seemed to always be glued to the Real Madrid bench week after week, but now he's one of the hottest attackers on the continent.
Est-ce que c'est un doublé pour Endrick? Oui!
In just a matter of weeks, the kid's entire story has changed and we still find it very fascinating. So we have to ask, what the heaven is happening to Endrick? You see, Endrick was a bit of a wonder kid. He started playing football at the age of 4 and his father was super intentional about him and his career. He would make videos of the little boy playing football and upload them to YouTube in order to attract the biggest clubs in Brazil. And well, it worked. At the age of 8, the kid was already training in a Real Madrid camp in Brazil and his future looked very bright. At 11, he moved to Palmeiras, one of the biggest clubs in South America, and that was where the world really started to hear about him. He impressed so much at the youth level that he was promoted to the first team at the age of 16, becoming the youngest player to debut for the Palmeiras first team. He would go on to also become the second youngest goalscorer in the history of the Brazilian Serie A, and his first year of top-flight football ended with him being crowned the most promising player in Brazil's Serie A, as well as being named one of the best worldwide talents born in the year 2006 by The Guardian. But here's the thing, even before he got to that point, he had already had his big break. In December 2022, just 2 months after his first team debut as a 16-year-old, Real Madrid announced that they had reached an agreement to sign the kid from Palmeiras when he turns 18 in the summer of 2024 in a deal that would cost them a total package of 72 million euros. And everyone who had watched little Endrick said he was worth every single penny of that. Yeah, that's how good he was. While waiting for his move to Europe, he continued to dazzle in Brazil. He earned his first call-up to the Brazil first team in 2023, becoming the youngest player to debut for the Brazil first team in 57 years and the 4th youngest of all time. His first goal for Brazil came at Wembley in a friendly game against England, where he made history again by becoming the youngest player to ever score a goal at Wembley, whether for club or country. 3 days later, he scored again against another European powerhouse, Spain.
By the way, quick pause. If you're watching this and you're even slightly stressed about Valentine's gifts, don't be. We've got ya. If your partner supports your club or just survives match days with you and still sticks around, that is love. So this Valentine's Day, skip the boring gifts. Go to goal90.shop and use code VALENTINE14 for 14% off plus free shipping worldwide on jerseys, phone cases and football accessories. Get something for your partner, match with them if you want, or honestly, just treat yourself. Self-love counts too. Alright, back to the video.
When he turned 18 and moved to Europe, everyone thought that he would continue in that same manner, but that wasn't exactly the case. However, it actually wasn't horrible. It was rather normal for a kid his age. I mean, as a teenager, you don't expect to just come from Brazil and walk into Real Madrid's first 11. He started out making substitute appearances, and he was great each time he was given the chance. He made his debut against Real Valladolid in August 2024, and despite the fact that he came on in the 84th minute, he still left with a goal. That goal made him the youngest foreign player to score a goal for Real Madrid in the history of La Liga. The following month, he scored on his UEFA Champions League debut, making history once again by becoming the youngest Brazilian as well as the youngest Real Madrid player to score a goal in the competition's history. Looking at the start he had in Europe, it seemed impossible that a player like that would fail. But then, seeing as Real Madrid had attackers like Mbappe, Vini, Rodrigo and Bellingham, it was just impossible for Endrick to get regular minutes, especially in the league and in the Champions League. So in his first season, he was used most often in the Copa del Rey, and there he shone. He finished as the tournament's highest goalscorer, leading Madrid to the final and becoming the first Real Madrid player to score 5 goals in a single campaign of the competition since Cristiano Ronaldo over a decade ago. With Real Madrid really struggling across competitions that season, there were cries from fans to give Endrick more minutes in big games, but that just didn't happen. And then, in May, he sustained an injury, and that was where the real problem started for him. That injury forced him to sit out the Club World Cup, and in his absence, Gonzalo Garcia rose to prominence, finishing as the tournament's top scorer and helping Real Madrid reach the semi-final of the competition. Endrick was already struggling to get meaningful minutes as things were, but with Garcia now in the picture, things got worse for him. And honestly, even apart from that, it felt like the new coach Xabi Alonso just didn't fancy Endrick for some reason. Even after Endrick returned from injury, the gaffer just refused to give the teenager any opportunities. Under Alonso, Endrick played only 11 La Liga minutes and 11 Champions League minutes. For a player of his quality, that was so terrible. A large section of the fan base was of the opinion that the coach was being really harsh on the kid. Yes, Mbappe started the season in imperious form and was almost undroppable as the starting striker, but Alonso often played with a two-man attack, so he could have fit Endrick in. Even with three up front, Endrick has shown that he can also do a good job as a winger, so the coach could still have played him if he really wanted to. And it wasn't even that Alonso didn't like young players. Gonzalo Garcia, Arda Güler and Mastantuono were getting regular minutes under him, but he just never found Endrick worthy. Now, there was another group of fans who were suggesting that maybe the Brazilian wasn't showing enough in training, and maybe he's just shown that he is just not good enough to be playing at this level. In all of this, Endrick knew that he just couldn't continue sitting on the bench every week, especially with the World Cup coming. So he made a very early decision to go out on loan halfway into the season. He chose to join Lyon months before the January transfer window opened and didn't change his mind even after Xabi Alonso was replaced by Álvaro Arbeloa early in the year. Well, best decision of his career so far. The kid completely exploded the moment he stepped foot in France and has been on a roll ever since. At this point, we already knew that this kid had a thing for debuts, so it wasn't a surprise when he scored on his Lyon debut in the Coupe de France. He would then provide an assist on his Ligue 1 debut, before then scoring a hat-trick in his first ever away game in the league. From these first 3 games, it was already clear what was happening all along. Endrick was never bad, he just never had the opportunities he needed. This guy is a goal machine. He can score from anywhere and out of anything. It also became clear that he indeed has that superstar quality, and you could tell from how the Lyon players received him. They handed penalty duties over to him in just his 3rd match for the club and celebrated every goal of his like he was one of their own. It wasn't at all hard to see that Endrick is actually a great guy, both on and off the pitch. But like that wasn't enough, he went on to silence more doubters with a wonder goal in the round of 16 Coupe de France game against Stade Laval. With the game seemingly heading for penalties, Endrick created a goal out of nothing with 10 minutes left on the clock and broke the deadlock, inspiring Lyon to a 2-0 win which saw them sail safely into the final 8. That goal meant that he scored 5 goals in his first 5 appearances for Lyon, a record just as good as what Neymar managed after he moved to PSG in 2017. Right now, Endrick looks totally unstoppable. The boy just cannot stop scoring, and it's crazy to think that he was rotting away on the bench just a couple months back. At this point, you can say that he has already secured his ticket to the 2026 World Cup, even though just a very short while back that seemed nearly impossible. But with this form he's showing at Lyon now, we just don't see how Ancelotti can ignore him. But the question now is, what should Endrick do after this 6-month loan deal at Lyon is over? Should he return to Real Madrid and try to fight the likes of Mbappe and Vini for a first-team shirt? Or should he, at the very least, extend his loan deal with Lyon? What do you think he should do? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.